EBURGFCC. We're continuing our series where we get the chance to look at some of the stories and lessons from the life of Jesus. And today I want to start that with a question. So, have you ever felt broken? Maybe you've lost a family member or suffered an injury. Maybe you've lost a job, you've struggled with addiction, or maybe you've experienced divorce. Well, if you've ever been broken, how have you reacted to that brokenness? If you're like me, a lot of times you choose to run away. But have you ever embraced being broken? Have you ever ran towards brokenness instead of away from it? Well, what if God's will was just on the other side of our brokenness? Which way would you run? When we look at the last 3 days of Jesus' life, we see him experience brokenness. We see that he's betrayed by one of his closest friends. He's taken prisoner, he's mocked, spit on, ridiculed, and beaten, before finally being broken as his life was literally poured out on the cross. But it was only after he allowed himself to be broken that Jesus says, "It is finished." Being broken is never easy, but Jesus never came to live a safe life. Jesus came to live life boldly in pursuit of God's will. And during the Last Supper, Jesus broke bread and told the disciples to eat this, for this is my body. What the disciples didn't know at the time, though, was that not only is Jesus the bread of life, but that in just a few short days, that bread would have to be broken. Later on, he told them to do this in remembrance of me. But what if his words there aren't simply asking us to occasionally take part in communion, but instead, when Jesus says do this, that he is instructing us to invite God to break us so that his will can be done. Shortly after eating, Jesus went away to pray. And while he was praying, he asked his Father if there was another way, a way that he could be spared of his suffering. But he boldly continued that prayer by saying, "Yet I want your will to be done and not mine." Like I said before, being broken is never easy, and it's never going to be. But sometimes God's will only happens after we invite him to break us. Remember, when Jesus broke bread, it wasn't so he could feed himself. It was so that bread could be shared around the table for everyone to enjoy. And when we invite God to break us, it's not about us. It's so that his will can feed and be enjoyed by everyone. And I'm sure that we all have someone in our life. Maybe it's our family member, a friend, maybe it's our neighbor that's carrying a burden that they can't carry on their own. Well, maybe it's time that we share their burden, that we walk with them through their pain, and that we invite God to break us so that his will can be done. Thanks again for joining me here today, and as always, I pray that you have a wonderful and a blessed day.